this video, we are forecasting a monster of a winter storm that will bring feet of snow and ice accretion to many. This storm could be historic, so make sure you watch till the end for all the details. Alright, welcome back into another more weather forecast video. Beckett Moore here, and again, like I just said, we are expecting a very significant storm for the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, as well as into the New England area. Not only are we expecting snow, and there will be a lot of it, we are also expecting ice and a severe weather threat. So a lot to get into, so let's get into first the warnings, watches, and advisories we do have right now going on from the National Weather Service. You can see in the red orangish color right here, into North Dakota, South Dakota, into parts of western Minnesota, into parts of Montana, Wyoming, northern Wisconsin. We do have, those are blizzard warnings right there. In the pink, we do have winter storm warnings. In the blue color, we do have those winter storm watches. And in the purple, or the darker purple, this purple right here, into southern Wisconsin, into northern Illinois, parts of Iowa, and southern Michigan, we do have ice storm warnings. And in the other purple shade, here into Iowa, Nebraska, into Pennsylvania, and parts of New York, we do have winter weather advisories. You can just see out here into the west as well, we do have lots of winter weather advisories, freeze watches, high wind warnings, as there will be strong winds into Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado. I mean, I can't name every single warning, watch, and advisory there is going on right now because there's so much of it, because this storm that is ongoing in the west right now is bringing impacts and will continue to bring impacts, and that's why we have all these warnings, watches, and advisories. And again, these watches, advisories, and warnings will likely be expanded and upgraded in some places as we go into the future. So now that we're done with that, let's look into the timing and and the placement of snow with this significant winter storm. I'm pretty sure its name is Olive, but I don't really focus on the names that much. I just focus on the impacts that it's going to produce, but I think it is Winter Storm Olive. So right around the time I am filming this video, we do have snow already starting into Minneapolis, into Minnesota, South Dakota, and North Dakota. This is our first wave, which is kind of an appetizer of this storm, where we will have two big time waves here. So going into later tonight, we will see that snow really start to spread out from Michigan, going into Michigan by the time we go into 12 to 1 a.m., going into northern Wisconsin by the time we go into probably 9 to 10 p.m., and you can see this big swath of snow. Here's our low pressure center, and you can see we do have a very big swath of snow that will spread east and just get bigger as we go into the nighttime hours and into early tomorrow morning, into those early a.m. hours. Then as we keep going into early on Wednesday, so looking at 6 a.m., we will get a little bit of a break into Minneapolis, into parts of central Wisconsin, but this is when we'll start to see that ice or freezing rain and sleet start to build in here into northern Illinois, into Iowa, and eventually here into Michigan throughout the day on Wednesday. We will also see some rain and severe storms develop down here from Oklahoma up towards Kansas, and into Ohio, West Virginia, Indiana, and parts of central Illinois. Missouri include that as well. And we will just continue to see that snow in South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and Colorado. And that'll add up quick there into the Rocky Mountains and into the northern plains. Then as we go into midday Wednesday, so looking at 12 p.m. here, you can see we're going to be seeing that freezing rain and sleet start to create a boundary right there from eastern parts of Iowa, so the Quad Cities area, extreme northern Illinois, extreme southern Wisconsin, into parts of Michigan, southern Michigan, into parts of northern Ohio, and into parts of Pennsylvania. And also, we are going to see that second wave of Winter Storm Olive into the Minneapolis region, into southern Minnesota, central Wisconsin, and we are going to see this boundary set up through this area that I'm circling, where we'll we'll just see continuous snow just keep coming in and coming in and coming in, and it'll be heavy, and we'll have wind with it as well, and that's going to create for big time accumulating snow, big time snow rates up here that are going to cause problems. So travel will be very hard at this time, looking at noontime tomorrow on Wednesday, as the second wave comes in. As we go into 3 p.m., you can see that snow, just heavy snow, still ongoing in the Twin Cities area, Minneapolis, St. Paul, into Green Bay, northern and central Wisconsin, into the northern of and mid region of Michigan, and into another part where we're going to have to watch for snow, into New England, where that'll be spreading into there by the time we go into tomorrow afternoon. And again, that ice boundary area right in between the rain and the snow will be continuing from Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, all the way over to Pennsylvania, southern Michigan, of course, including that as well. As we get going into Wednesday night, so looking at around 9 p.m., we're still going to be seeing snow falling into Minneapolis, into northern Wisconsin. So we're already seeing snow falling right now. We'll have a little bit of a lull in the snow in Minneapolis, but then all day tomorrow it's going to be snowing and into tomorrow night, so that's going to add up quick. And then to northern Michigan here, the upper peninsula of Michigan, we're going to be having heavy snow at this time. You can see there 9 p.m. and then into the New England area, we'll have this warm nose spreading north, but eventually that will get cut off by the cold air, and we will really just see that snow really start to fall there into Vermont, extreme northern New York, into parts of New Hampshire, and going into Maine at this time here on Wednesday night. As we go into early morning on Thursday, so at this point we're talking about around 3 a.m., we're really going to see those winds start cranking out there. Again, the closer together those black lines are, the stronger the winds are, and we're going to see extremely strong winds, blizzard conditions here into the Minneapolis region, Minnesota, into Wisconsin, as well as parts of northwestern Iowa, and into the northern plains region. Again, remember, we have blizzard warnings right through this area that will likely expand into the Minneapolis area. I think it's actually already in the Minneapolis area, but anyways, we are going to see strong winds, and that's going to create for blizzard conditions up here into the northern plains and upper Midwest. So going into around 6 a.m. here on Thursday, we are still seeing snow falling. So this is not tomorrow, but the next day on Thursday, we're still seeing snow falling in Minneapolis, St. Paul region, into Duluth, into northern and central Wisconsin, and into the upper peninsula region of Michigan here. And while that's ongoing, we're going to continue to see snow into Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. So just a long duration of snow in these areas. And by the time we probably get into around noontime on Thursday, maybe even later, that snow will finally be tapering off into Minneapolis, into Green Bay, into places into central northern Wisconsin, into upper peninsula of Michigan, and into the northeast. Of course, we'll have that little second wave of snow by the time we go into late on Thursday, so looking at 6 p.m. But then, by the time we go into early, so they're looking at 12 or 1 a.m. here on Friday, that snow, that storm, that second wave will be out of here. So you just saw a super long duration of snow in these areas, in the northern plains, in the upper Midwest, over towards the Great Lakes region, and into the Northeast. So what does that translate to? A ton of snow here into the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes region, the northern plains here. So you can see from South Dakota into central and southern Minnesota, over towards central and northern Wisconsin, northern part of the upper region of Michigan and the upper peninsula of Michigan, over towards the northeast into mainly New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and the upstate of New York. We are going to be dealing with a historic, in some places, swath of snow here, and we need to also mention the area over here in the west, where we're going to just get pummeled with snow from the Rockies over towards the plateaus between the Rockies and the Sierras into Nevada, the higher elevations of Arizona, the higher elevations of Utah near Salt Lake City. These Sierras are going to get pummeled. We're talking about 50 plus inches of snow throughout this event. We're looking through 12 p.m. on Friday here, so a long duration here, but we're going to see that snow add up here into the western mountain ranges and that's going to create for dangerous conditions. A lot of snow, one of your biggest snowfalls of the season here, as we're just going to see that moisture continue here in the west, and that's why we have all those winter storm warnings in the west, those blizzard warnings. It was just a crazy map because of this snowfall map and how much winter weather we're going to receive, but a huge snowfall map. So let's zoom on into the upper Midwest and the northern plains region. You can see from South Dakota north of Sioux Falls, we're talking a wide swath of 18 to 24 inches all the way to the northern region of Michigan into the upper peninsula of Michigan. Our hot spot with this storm will likely be, and I don't know why the storm decided they wanted to do this, but likely be the big population center of the Twin Cities, the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Over towards Eau Claire, we could have isolated spots where we could get up to 30 inches. But in the Twin Cities, we're talking probably 19 to 25 inches. Of course, isolated areas could blow this out of the water because, again, this is a conservative forecast. This is the National Weather Service official forecast. So this is a conservative forecast, believe it or not, in some areas. So we could see this a little bit more and a little bit less, as always, with this snowfall forecast. Then in the upper peninsula of Michigan, we're talking around 15 to 18 inches with some enhancement near Marquette. Northern Upper region, 15 to 18 inches. And northern and central Wisconsin, around 18 to 20 inches. So a wide swath of snow here. This, coupled with wind in some areas, will create very, very dangerous conditions. It doesn't matter how good your car is. This is not going to be good for driving, so just stay home as this long duration of snow comes through and ends by midday Thursday. It will take a long time for this snow to melt, so get ready, get prepared. This is going to be a lot of snow for you guys in the Great Lakes region. So just look at the snow map, find yourself there on the map, and that's probably around the amount of snow you're going to get according to the National Weather Service, and their forecast is usually pretty on point. Now let's go on over to the eastern United States into New England, and you can see pretty much north of this line, we are talking from 10 up to 18 to 24 inches in these areas. So pretty much all of Maine, probably 15 to 20 inches in some isolated spots. Into New Hampshire, probably around 15 to 20 inches as well. Same for you guys into northern Vermont and extreme northern in New York here. You can see we're probably going to get up to 15 inches, especially in the higher elevations here in New England. Again, that just long duration of snow is going to cause for a lot of it in the northern New England area. Also into the Boston area, probably 5 inches, but again, that snow will melt fast as that warm nose of air comes through. New York, maybe an inch, maybe a dusting, but that will melt fast as well. We're really worried about northern New England, where we could see those bigger snowfall impacts here, but you can just see this is going to be an extremely impactful snowstorm. Feet of snow in many areas, up to 2 feet. So it could even be like a top 5 snowstorm, top 10 snowstorm in the Minneapolis, St. Paul region. So again, it's so important to be prepared for this and know what is coming. So that is what's coming right there. A lot of snow in those areas that I just showed. Now, snow is not the only issue here. Like I said in the intro, it's also going to be that ice and severe weather, but I'll get to that here in a sec. You can see our ice forecast here from southern Michigan into extreme southern Wisconsin, into eastern Iowa, northern Illinois here, and into northern Ohio, northern Indiana. We are going to have that problem with ice. Up to a half an inch in some isolated spots is going to be possible in southern Michigan. So from Detroit over towards Kalamazoo, we're going to be seeing a lot of ice. Again, a little bit of ice goes a long way. So travel disruptions, icy roads, icy sidewalks, those icy surfaces, and maybe some power outages, all are going to be likely with this storm. We do have ice storm warnings in effect here, so this is definitely not something to not take serious. You need to take this seriously, as into southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois, we're all going to probably be seeing 1/4 of an inch to 2/4 of an inch, so half an inch of ice in some areas here. So it is extremely important to know your ice forecast, and this is what is expected. This is National Weather Service official forecast. And you need to be prepared for this as well if you're in southern Michigan and you're in northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin, as well as into parts of eastern Iowa, in north of Chicago, south of Milwaukee, and into the Kalamazoo, Detroit area, as this will cause impacts. I can't stress enough. The ice does cause impacts, so you need to be prepared for this if you are in these areas, as ice is going to be another big part of this storm. Now, last but not least, we do have a severe weather threat for tomorrow, Wednesday, from Oklahoma City up through Tulsa, Springfield, Raleigh, Jeff City, and St. Louis. It is a slight risk of severe weather, so it's not a huge risk, but damaging winds, a breeze tornado, and isolated hail will all be possible here as this line of storms comes throughout the day from Oklahoma City towards St. Louis, but those storms should be not really as severe once they get into Indiana and Ohio, but watch out for damaging winds tomorrow in those areas. Alright, that about wraps up this more weather forecast video. Make sure you subscribe and go follow me on Twitter. Be prepared for that ice, that snow, that severe weather. If you are in these areas, this is going to be a very impactful storm, so make sure you go follow me on Twitter for more updates. As always, stay prepared out there, and I will see you soon with more weather.